Whoop.
All I wanted to do was raise my electronic hand and I pushed the wrong button. So
Whoops.
we're going to have a part one and a part two again. And it's all on me. Those of you listening, all on me. Ivory
Hey,
pushed the wrong button.
I think you do an amazing job of learning all this technology and managing it and running it. Yeah.
There are just moments when a little slip of the finger. Anyway, I just wanted to say that's so awesome that you would rise up and, see things like 3 feet above your head. That's just kind of confirmation, very clear confirmation. And it's probably going to take most people a while to get to that point. You didn't just start your spiritual journey and boom, have that happen. And that's true for all of us. I think people hear about like the yogis and the things they do. Well, they've spent decades. That's their job, tuning in spiritually, being spiritual, tuning into the higher self. That's their job, and they're going to achieve things most of us won't, because we actually have other jobs like that need to make money, and so we don't have full time to put into it. So it's going to take a while. Be gentle with yourself. But one thing that's important is like that whole thing of being receptive. If you're afraid of the experience, if you're afraid what's going to happen, you're nervous, you have some kind of thought that it isn't right to do this, you might as well just put a brick wall up in front of you, because you're putting a barrier between yourself and the experience of connecting. So relax, it's fine. It's part of you. It's nothing supernatural. It's part of who you are. And just know that even if you think that nothing's happening, you are gaining from the experience when you practice this, and it's going to unfold at the perfect time. So Terri Ann mentioned meditation early on, and that's so important. We've said this before, that usually like meditation could be anything that gets you into a meditative state. But for this, it really should be like you're alone in a quiet place and you're sitting and you're releasing thoughts. So more traditional type of meditation would be more useful with this process. And it could kind of be more effective to have frequent, short meditation periods during the day rather than one long one. So if a lot of people will say, I can't meditate, thoughts go through my head. And any meditation teacher is going to tell you that's part of meditation. Part of it is learning how to release those thoughts. And I always like to see it as like a thought comes into your head and you tie a string on it, and it's a helium balloon, and you just let it go and it sails off into the sky. No harm, no foul. And the more you do this, the less thoughts come into your mind until you reach that place of stillness and quiet. So even if you can pause briefly during, all of us have busy days, pause during your day, get quiet, ask for energy and guidance from your higher self, and just spend whatever time you can quieting your mind and being receptive. You're going to deepen your connection with your higher self. And people talk about enlightenment. Don't you think enlightenment is really full connection with your higher self?
Yeah, I think enlightenment, and it's that place, right, where you are meditating and there's nothing. Like we've strived to be at that place. I know when I'm meditating, I sometimes view it as like an elevator, go up and down. And when I get into that particular spot, there's nothing coming in, there's no thoughts, there's just quiet. I'm not focusing on my breath. That particular spot, I really feel like that is the spot for me where there's nothing, there's just stillness.
Roz, do you have your hand up because you want to say something?
No.
Okay, I just didn't want to assume you were left it up. So I just wanted to say, like, another experience I had, Roz, your story reminded me of this and I'd forgotten about it. I used to go, when I lived down in the Phoenix area, I went to a lot of different spiritual circles, and one of them was sort of a class format. And they had this meditation for different things. And one of them was connect with your higher self. So I asked a question in my head that I wanted answered, connected to my higher self. And I heard a voice loud in my head, give me an answer. And then I asked another question, same meditation, and I heard an answer loud and clear. And It was direct to the question I asked. I was so shocked. I remember coming out of that and I actually saw like a figure, but it wasn't totally humanoid, but there was a figure with a lot of light and not like a face or anything like that, just light. But I came out of that and I must have looked stunned because the persons who were running the class are like, Ivory, what's going on? And I'm like, I saw a light figure. I heard answers to my questions and they insisted on me giving them. And I really didn't want to because they were about my partner at the time who was sitting next to me and they weren't very complimentary, but they insisted on me telling them what it was. So everybody's laughing, but it was things I really needed to hear. I really needed like confirmation, really needed that info. So I think sometimes this process can really surprise us and you can get a response, you can get results from this faster than you expect. And I did not expect that to happen the first time I consciously tried to connect to my higher power. Never even thought of it before.
That's great. I know for me, doing yoga and breath work also brings me to that place where a lot of connection with my higher self is too. It's like, I can't even describe it or put it into words. It's just like euphoria. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely. And right now, I mean, I can feel it in the energy. I'm sure it's part of why I feel really discombobulated today. Since Russia invaded Ukraine, there's the energy has shifted dramatically, and I'm feeling that just really like high anxiety. And I think that right now, a lot of people that I'm seeing on social media are reflecting those same emotions. This is a wonderful time. More every day, it seems like week after week, there's more reason to do things like this, tapping into your higher self so that you can see this from a perspective outside of your human view as to what's really happening here. Where are we headed? Why is this going on? And help you step back from the emotions of it, because we're not going to be able to help ourselves, our clients, our family and friends, or the world by being sucked into anxiety and fear, even through the emotions of others. So this, I think, is a great way to get that place of mental euphoria where we're freed from all of this. And we're not going to be able to do it all the time because you wouldn't be able to drive. You wouldn't be able to function too highly, but getting a little bit of this every day could really help your mental and emotional health, especially right now.
Yeah, that's a great point because you don't want to focus. We're not naive. We're not focusing on the war of what's going on or all the pain and suffering. We're focusing on the goal, which is for peace, right? So when you change that thinking and that mindset, you're no longer focusing on all the fear and the agenda that's going on. You're focusing on the goal, which is the peace.
Exactly. I know I probably got 15 messages on Facebook from friends who are healers saying, let's send love and light and healing to Ukraine. And I'd already been doing it since this threat first started. But I think that's a beautiful idea, because what we're not going to fix is we're not going to fix war and anger and hostility with more anger and hostility. We're not going to neutralize that. We're not going to change the energy that's happening. So it's kind of like you can't continue just living your human life and expect to become enlightened. You must come to a place where you feel motivated internally or externally. Usually it's best if it's internal, to take a step onto that path and just keep moving ahead as best you can, despite the challenges. Honestly, the challenges are part of your spiritual journey. And we can all see that when we look back at it. Here, I wish Robert was here today. We have Robert Markham, is one of the Sedona Soul Sisters, and he is very much into yoga. And the next thing is yoga is another good way to connect with your higher self, to get in touch with your heart center, find inner peace, and regular yoga practice of any kind. There's hot yoga, which I don't like. Paying to go get hot and sweaty isn't my thing. But recently, my daughter started taking yoga. I'd been encouraging her for 20 years, and she finally started taking yoga. And she's doing, what did you call it? Meditative yoga. And they have like quiet music, and there's guided meditation while they go through the yoga. And she's just loving it. Find the yoga that works for you. There's all kinds of DVDs you can get and put into your player at home and do it at home, whatever works for you. But do some every day is just a great way to get yourself in balance. And even though practicing yoga doesn't guarantee you're going to have a spiritual awakening, if you want to connect with your higher self, it's a great way to quiet your mind as you're focusing on getting into a pose, holding it. You naturally clear your mind. I miss my yoga very much.
Yeah, I remember when I wanted to do hot yoga, and my daughter's like, no, it's only cold yoga for this girl.
Me too. Ugh.
That's what you reminded me of.
Oh yeah, my niece did hot yoga, and I'm like, okay, wait, you want to go into a room and sweat your brains out while you do yoga? I mean, I used to do that when I did dance classes, but no, I don't see it. Something else that might help you, just like when you do any other spiritual work, create your space, make it more conducive. Having some crystals, having a diffuser with the right essential oils that help you relax. There's certain essential oils that help you connect to a higher plane. Maybe you have a special pillow you want to lay on, a special blanket you want to use, music to put on, whatever it is that's going to help you, bring you joy, calm you, and just allow that energy to flow easily so that you make the connection you're looking for. It's not brain surgery, but it does take some effort, right? What do you think about setting intentions when it comes to connecting, Roz? Do you think that that's important?
It's very important. And it's more than, I mean, sort of, that's terminology that's simple, but it's really about directing your heart and your focus of your energy to getting these things moving and accomplished, and getting yourself in the right place to do those things. And I think a lot of people are aware of that. But again, we go back to the quiet time thing and the finding the time. And it has to be a commitment that you make to yourself, and you do it. I feel like you have to do it every day. I know for me, that's important.
I do it every day and every night, but I can totally understand for this work. I think it's really important to either state your intention out loud, what you want to manifest through this connection with your higher self, or
Yeah.
write it in a journal if you're more of a writer than a speaker. But making it clear and really being very crystal clear about what you're trying to manifest through this connection. What are your goals? What do you want to see change? What are your desires through this? Big and small manifestations all fit in. And I think that's important to state that. I do that every time I meditate anyway. Usually there's a reason I'm doing it, or it's not a reason I'm doing it, but I create a reason that I'm doing it. I like to put a reason in there, whether it's, I want to see my higher self. I want to feel the energy of my higher self. I want to get one message from my higher self, whatever it is. And just keep, to me, like you just keep that same intention or manifestation every time until that is given to you.
And I think it's important too. You touched on writing. Like I'm a tremendous to-do list person. If I've got it in a list, if my mind is seeing those words and I'm focused on that, I'm going to get a lot more done than if I'm just sort of allowing myself to kind of float along. And one thing I've really noticed is the other thing and Ivory, I know you're going to laugh when I say this, I'm like a post-it note person, okay? So I love those things. And I love to get different colors of them and write down what my intentions are for manifestation, for doing work with the world situation, etc. And of course, I have a lot of energy in my hands, a lot of psychometric energy. So one thing that I do is, and I do this when I'm reading too, I write down the words that I'm focusing on, whatever those are, and I run my index finger across them. And I can actually feel the energy of that focus of energy and thought and manifestation. And it keeps me, I'm a little ADHD, so it keeps me on track is what it does. But I can also feel the energy that it creates. So I think, we all have to find our own special way that we maintain that focus and our intention of accomplishment and manifestation.
Roz, as you talk about holding your hand over it and feeling the energy, I'm getting a very clear picture in my mind, a flashback to us working on missing persons cases and putting a map out, and you do that same thing. You put
Yes,
your
I
hands
do.
over the map. So I understand that. I really do. And I agree with that. How do you want to feel is another thing to think about. Sometimes what we want to change in our life a lot is how we feel. And right now, especially, like I said, it's a very stressful time in history right now and on all kinds of levels.
Yes.
And how do you want to feel? Let your higher self help you shift that.
I think the concept of putting all these things together in a meditational format, is really about your focus, your ability to focus your energy. And feeling your energy once it's in an intense focus, wow, talk about elevating your frequency. I mean, it just shoots you up.
Absolutely, it does. I actually like to, and I think that's important working with your higher self. Once you state your manifestation, whether you say it out loud, you write it, whatever, then let it go. You connect with your higher self, you've stated your manifestation, your intention, then let it go and let your higher self and the universe do what it's going to do with it. Because if you dwell on that, that's another way you can energetically put a barrier up to seeing the kind of results that you want. And besides, intentions, manifestations have an incubation time. It's not like I have had a few, I've shared them on the show different times where I said something and seconds later it manifested.
Yeah.
But that's rare. And it could be a day or two, it can be a month, it could be longer. So know that it's happening. Your higher self heard you. They know what you want. Your angels and guides know, the universe knows. Now they're working on it behind the scenes, whether you can see it or feel it or not. Trust that. Trust that it's happening. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't say the same thing every day. I do intentions in the morning and intentions before I sleep at night. But allow yourself the belief and the grace to let your higher self, your angels, guides, and universe do this work for you.
Well, and I think too, trusting and having faith restores and reinvigorates our energy. So, and then when you see it manifest, the gratitude, that envelops you is just amazing. And that's all part of that process.
And it's important to see that, to really make note of it, talk about it, think about the successful manifesting you did through this process. When things happen, we talk about it a lot at Sedona Soul Sisters, the amazing things that have happened for us. We don't take that for granted. We see it for the little miracles we've created through intentions and manifestation. You can do that too. There's a few things like you can personally do that are going to help this happen a little easier and faster for you. And one is really monitoring your thoughts. So when you're meditating, allow all of your thoughts to be gazed upon. There's no bad thoughts. You're not bad. You're not terrible at meditating. Just let them happen. Don't judge or label them. Don't resist them. look at it like you are a stepping stone in a stream, and the thoughts are the water coming around you. They come against you, they go, and they're in the past. It's not bad. It's just thoughts, and just let it happen. That process alone is going to let you detach and get into the mental state you need. And if you find that you're so bombarded with thoughts that that's not working, get up and walk around a little bit, try it again. Let yourself wear off some of the energy, but don't try to force yourself to get into the state if your mind is whirling in 100 directions at that moment. Another thing, be gentle with yourself. We say this often. We're very hard on ourselves as humans. We judge ourselves. We hold ourselves to high standards. We compare ourselves to others. And honestly, this is a great time, this process, connecting to your higher self, great time to just let go of all of this without blame, ego, or judgment. You be gatekeeper of your thoughts and actions, and give yourself that guidance yourself to just banish fear, doubt, and negativity from your body and mind, and just believe that you are going to clearly and effectively connect with your higher self and maintain that connection for the rest of your lifetime.
I think a part of that too goes back to the realization that, we all have our unique focuses and our unique abilities. Seeing our abilities in a kind of an objective way, I think is really helpful. And that prevents us passing judgment on ourselves, really. Because when you get into self-judging and questioning and all that, you're definitely, removing aspects of your energetic presence and your abilities.
100%. So, we encourage you to put at least one or two of these, help these hints, these tips into practice, and try it for at least a month. Honestly, I feel like it's an ongoing process, like most things on a spiritual path. It's not something you do for a while and then you go back to your regular life. It's something you integrate and make it part of your regular life moving forward. And
Every day.
yeah, you want your connections from your angels and guides. You definitely want the connection with your higher self. Your higher self has all the knowledge of every lifetime you've lived and your time on the other side. Wouldn't it be fantastic to gain those memories, that knowledge that you have within? So hopefully this inspires you to begin this process, to give it a shot. And we're always eager to hear from you. You can contact us via email at any time, and that is in the show description, no matter what platform you're on. You've been watching the Sedona Soul Sisters show. If you'd like more information about us or our services, visit our website, sedonasoulsisters.com. Subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss a thing. And tune in next Friday. The topic is the Orion Star Race and Starseed. That is a pre-recorded episode, so there's no live show next week, but we'll be back live the week after. In the meantime, have an enlightening week.